It is time. The moment you've all been waiting for. The video where I determine if the very first Tower of God global video game, Tower of God Great Journey, is in fact a good game. My complete review of the game after having played it for 2 weeks is finally here. But before I continue, this video is sponsored by Tower of God Great Journey! Hey! Huge shout out to the people at GOG Games for helping sponsor this video, promoting Tower of God Great Journey. With this in mind, I want to make sure everyone understands this is my unadulterated opinion. The sponsorship is not gonna affect what I think of the game. So I don't know, you can download the game if you want and play it while watching this video. The link is in the description down below. There are a lot of things that I really enjoy about this game, but there are also some criticisms I have that I'll save for the second half of the video. Starting with the art. I think the art is one of the strongest points of the game because we all love Tower of God for its artwork. I think one of the highlights is getting to see the improvements that SIU has made and seeing his style change over time. And this game is really cool because it animates a lot of those classic scenes that we're used to from the comic. We get to see, every once in a while in the story, we get to see these frames kind of come to life, which is just one of my favorite parts about playing through it, because I'm not only reliving the story, but I get to see this artwork kind of come to life as well. The models themselves in the game are pretty fine, I would say, but my favorite part about them is when some of the legendary characters have their ignition weapons and they use their skills, they have a separate artwork, and I think that is really, the actual art of the characters themselves, the models are okay, the art is really, really cool. Skill animations, the ignition animations, all of it rocks. I think even the enemies and especially the administrators when you do the administrators trials in the game, I think those look fantastic. Voice acting as well, in Korean only, which I think works feasibly well. And the music is also a bop. I think it can get a little repetitive at times if you're in the rice pot 24/7, day after day after day. But at that point, just, mute the music and leave it on in the background. So tying into all of that is the story mode, which I think is the perfect way to relive the Tower of God story. I was so impressed by how little they left out of the story. Anytime I thought they didn't include a scene or they skipped over something, it was always included in these extra side missions you can do in Revolution Road. And I just think that's really amazing. They left in a lot more than the anime did. Now, it's obviously told in a different way, so if you want to experience the original, the comic is always the way to go. But what I like about this is that everything is here. A lot of the dialogue is word to word the same as the comic, in addition to those cool 2 3D animations that I described earlier. So it's a really neat way. If you're someone who's always wanted to reread the comic, I think this is a good way to do that as well. So the story mode gets a plus from me. It's very good. The only criticism I have about it, and it's kind of a big criticism, is that the text goes by really fast. It's like lightning fast. If you're somebody who there's a big text on the screen, you can't read it out loud, you just gotta zoom through it because sometimes it skips ahead without even having finished it. So this game is an AFK style RPG, which means a lot of the content is not meant to be you controlling the characters and choosing every skill they make. It's meant to kind of run itself. It's like an auto battle in a way. You're meant to have it run, essentially. There's the rice pot, which is definitely meant to just kind of sit in the background. In fact, the rice pot trains even when your phone is off. So if you're turning off your phone, you want to come back to it later in the day, it's kind of already filled up, you have this little chest that fills up, so that's actually pretty neat. And then Tower of Trial is a thing where you can spend your keys to grind for certain items, and that's absolutely also meant to kind of just leave your phone on, do something else, come back to it in a bit. There's Floor of Hardship, Ranker Wars, which is a PvP thing where you're trying to keep up in the rankings and you get more rewards if you're higher up in the rankings. There's the Administrator's Trial, like I mentioned earlier, which is pretty cool. There's the story mode as events. There's a lot of content here, a lot of it. There's always something going on, and I think the events themselves are actually also really cool. The events, in my opinion, are the best way to keep up with getting summon tickets and stuff. If you're doing the daily missions, you're doing the weekly missions, and you're doing the events, you're gonna be getting a decent amount of currency to spend on summons or whatever else. So honestly, the content itself, there's a lot of it. There's actually a lot of it, and I'm nowhere near finished with the story, and I've been playing it a decent amount, like I mentioned. There's a lot here, and I know there's a lot of updates planning to come as well. So it's pretty fun. I've really enjoyed it. It's really fun putting together my team. The gear system's fun, because you kind of just allocate it to everybody. You don't have to worry about individual gear for each character. You can if you want to, but it's not a huge deal. It's very fun to grind, see how my team is doing, come back to it in a bit, do some updates, and see if I can make more progress in the story or Tower of Trial or whatever. It's very fun, but you have to expect that this is an AFK style game. I went into it not really expecting that and was a bit surprised. I didn't mind it, but I could see some people who don't like that style of game maybe being turned off by it. So overall, very fun. Let's get into some other criticisms I have of the game. There is a thing that happens in this game called the bottleneck. The bottleneck is a little bit frustrating if you're somebody who is impatient with these kinds of games especially. The beginning of the game is a breeze. You're gonna be breezing through that content with your early team being like, dude, nothing can stop me. I'm so OP. I'm getting all these tickets and I'm getting all this currency and I'm blowing through the content. That's not going to last. After a couple days, you're going to reach a point where it's very difficult to progress and you have to be patient. You have to slowly get through the content by grinding every day, do the Tower of Trial, spend your keys, do the daily missions and all of that, collect your gold through the rice pot training, and eventually you will get strong enough to go through that. But this isn't the kind of game, once you reach the bottleneck, where you sit down for an hour and just continue to make progress. You're going to reach a point where you can't. It's like a wall in front of you, and I can see how that could be frustrating for somebody because you're gonna be tempted to go spend money. Now, there are some good options, I think, when it comes to spending money. You can play this game totally for free and make progress, right? But there are some like package deals or like the battle pass, which could be helpful as well. But I think the bottleneck kind of makes you feel sometimes like, if I want to make progress, I have to spend money. That's just how it is for any gacha game. So it's not really a criticism of Great Journey itself. It's more of a warning to you. If the bottleneck occurs, you have to be patient. This is a game where you have to be patient, do the training, and slowly level up your gear. It's not gonna happen overnight. I also think there are moments in the game where some currencies are a little more scarce than others. I think gold eventually becomes a commodity that is very hard to come by. Like gold, at first I had so much of it, I thought I could spend it, but gold is kind of hard to come by later on, so I'd be a little careful. Make sure you are spending it on stuff that you want to spend it on, because I was like transcending all of my characters, and then I realized, oh, that's costing a lot of money. As you get later on in the game, the resources start to slim much more than at the beginning. So again, as long as you're patient, that's okay. It doesn't change too much, as long as you're patient. But just keep in mind that the progress you're making at the beginning is not going to maintain all the way through. So overall, the game is very fun. I think it's a great Tower of God game, and I think for being the first global release, it definitely like fits the bill. Like it's everything that a lot of people want. You get your favorite characters, put them together, see what they can do. They've all got cool skills, and you can give them gifts and like level up your friendship. There's some really cool stuff here, and I think the game overall is definitely good. Just keep in mind, if you're somebody who's not very patient when it comes to games like this might not be for you. There's also one tip I want to share about the game that I thought made it so much better. There's a setting that you can switch on that makes the game so much smoother, and it makes it look so beautiful. If you go into your menu and you go into your settings, there's a setting under graphic called frame, and also resolution depending on the kind of phone that you have. And if you set that to very high, the game looks so much smoother. The animations are so fluid, and obviously depending on what phone you have, maybe this isn't for you, but I would try it out because I found that it also made the UI a lot smoother. Jumping between menus was a lot easier with this setting. So that's it. That's my review of Tower of God Great Journey. There's also a newbie event that I wanted to talk about because if you're new to the game, it does give you a lot of stuff that's gonna really help you get started in the game. You're gonna get some legendary characters at some point, and you're guaranteed to get epics. If you do the beginning content, you're gonna get enough characters to be able to clear a lot. So definitely do the newbie event. That's the best way to start leveling up and getting currency and all of that. Newbie event and like the Revolution Road and God's Inventory. There's a lot of stuff at your disposal if you wanna start leveling things up. So overall, thank you to Tower of God Great Journey for sponsoring this video, and all of you who are watching, let me know what you think of the game in the comments. I know a lot of you in the community are playing it, so I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. That's all I have. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.